and a warm welcome to News Today on KMTV. I'm Selin Bukari. The headlines. To help strengthen national capacity and report progress on greenhouse emission, EPA and other government-line ministries and agencies signed MOU. The outreach mission of the United Nations Department of Management, Strategy, Policy and Compliance to Liberia to visit on a 5-day outreach mission on the recruitment process of the UN. After conquering Africa and Europe in highly competitive competition, Liberian-born international awards-winning boxer Freddie Kuwait returns home to give back. What's in the package for the youth? We will find out. Welcome to KMTV News. Let's bring you our first development. The outreach mission of the United Nations Department of Management, Strategy, Policy and Compliance is expected in Liberia on a 5-day outreach mission intended to create awareness on the recruitment process of the United Nations. The move by the UN, according to Liberia's ambassador to the United States, D. Maxwell Kimaya, came as a result of direct engagement by President Weah during meetings with United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
From the very inception of my current tour of duty here, creating opportunities for Liberians to serve within the United Nations system has been and continues to be a top priority, one of the priorities of my representation here at the United Nations. And that priority is pursuant to the mandate I received from His Excellency President Weah. Our President is very much concerned and is interested in increasing the number of Liberians at the maximum level within the UN system. The President is concerned about that to the effect that in his last 2 meetings during his participation in activities of the high-level week at the UNGA, the 73rd UNGA and the 74th UNGA, one of the 3 topics of discussions for the meeting His Excellency President Weah held with His Excellency the United Nations Secretary General has been the issue of job placements for Liberians within the UN system. There is going to be a high level of excitement, enthusiasm on the part of our government and the people of Liberia to receive this United Nations delegation to Liberia for the purpose of working towards creating room for opportunities for increased level of participation or employment or hiring or recruitment of Liberians.
Meanwhile, Ambassador Kimaya thanked the United Nations for the outreach mission to Liberia and assured that the government of President Weah will fully support the mission to ensure that it is successful and impactful. The Liberian envoy then outlined that he and his team will coordinate with the government and the United Nations system in Liberia to ensure that the outreach team meets relevant authority and target audience, especially the youth who make up more than 63% of the population.
As it relates to competences and skills, Liberians are amongst the best in terms of competencies and skills the world over. But like you rightly said, while we have competencies and skills amongst Liberians, the fact also remains, which we cannot shy away from, that you can even be the most educated, but sometimes not being fully aware and cognizant as it relates to procedures and familiarity with the system can also deny you the much needed opportunity as it takes to be able to benefit. And I want to believe strongly, I'm of the strongest conviction, that that has been the situation with Liberians in time past. And so we are very much happy, and we kept engaging and directing our staff, our technical team here in New York to remain engaged, because this is a follow-up, given the discussions that I said our president held with His Excellency the Secretary General of the UN. The president, from the briefing we provided, is particularly pleased that on the special mission of the UN to Liberia as it relates to employment opportunities in the UN, that the youth are also at the center, of that, young professionals, because the youth constitute more than 63% of the population of Liberia. And with such a youthful population, if we do not create the necessary platform that will ensure opportunities for the youth of our country to access employment-related opportunities as such within the United Nations system, which we are jointly working towards.
The outreach mission, according to Ms. Christine Asokuman, Chief Staffing Diversity and Outreach Section at the United Nations headquarters in New York, is a part of the United Nations Secretary General's reform process, which, among others, aims to enhance diversity within the United Nations workforce.
Liberia at the moment is underrepresented. There are a few positions that are geographically set aside for Liberia. For those positions, we are trying to see whether we can, attract more Liberians. And most recently, for the Young Professional Program exam, there are Liberians who have enrolled for that, and we hope they'll be successful. So that's another way that they can also be placed, because once they pass that exam, it's kind of a very good way to get into the United Nations. So that's one thing. So we thought, then why don't we go to Liberia to see how we can do a presentation. This presentation is not just telling how the UN is a great place to work, but it's more about giving tips of how to apply for the job, and that we'll do some mock interviews on the competency-based interviews. So giving tips on how to have the best chance of getting into the UN, because they are all very qualified candidates. However, they may not know the insight of how to apply to the UN. The example could be that somebody could have 15 years of experience, and the requirement for a job could be 15 years of experience. But when they apply for that position, they might only put their most recent experience. And then they don't even get an opportunity of being looked at to compete. So we want to give all of these tips, and from A to Z. And I'm sending one of my best colleagues who is really good at this. She did a few in Africa because she's responsible for the African region, and it was well received. And after her trip there, because I'm also looking at the impact, because she doesn't go just and come back just. So after her trip, I look at how many Liberians have applied, how successful they are, where did they have problems. So we are looking at that aspect as well after the trip. And this is only a start. We can also, continue to do things, because in this trip, even Florisha will give them tips of how to put job alerts, like if in their field, so that they get messages saying that there is an opportunity now, you can apply. So it's not like just one event now, it will be a continuous support for it. And we started this only in January after the reform, so now this is our new mandate.
Well, if you just joined us, this is a reminder that you're watching News Today on KMTV. I'm Selin Bukari. Let's bring you more developments. The Environmental Protection Agency and other government line ministries and agencies Tuesday signed a memorandum of understanding to help strengthen national capacity to report progress on the greenhouse emission. Speaking during the signing ceremony, the executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency, Nathaniel Blauman, said data collection process has not been synchronized in the sector.
Well, today, signing ceremony involved line government ministries and agencies, including the FDA, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Post and Telecommunication, the Ministry of Mines and Energy, the Monrovia City Corporation, and the University of Liberia. Basically, the signing was to turn over an MOU, partnership, technical assistance to this institution to turn over some equipment that was bought to be used by their hubs. Under the CBIT project, the capacity building initiative under the Paris Agreement is intending to strengthen national capacity to report national progress on greenhouse gas emission to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. In the past, our data collection processes had not been synchronized, and also they weren't what we say owned by the entities. Consultants will gather the information and then submit it, but now we want ownership in the sector, the agriculture sector. We want the Ministry of Agriculture to report on it, and then so it's mostly larger stakeholder participation and national ownership and transparency in the reporting process. That's the importance of it. By doing so, it positions the country in a way, because we've done our national forest inventory working with FDA. By doing so now, it positions the country in a way where we can now say, well, this is what we're emitting, and this is what our carbon stock is. Marshal against our emission level, and the excess carbon that we have, we can also, use it as means of trade globally.
Also speaking at the signing ceremony was the Managing Director of Forestry Development Authority, C. Mark Doyen, who noted the initiative is a step in the right direction, but was quick to mention that more needs to be done to ensure that children enjoy good and healthy life. His statement was buttressed by the Vice President of the University of Liberia, Associate Professor Wedi Bole, who expressed joy for the initiative.
As those nations that are producing more greenhouse gas to live up to their agreement, the Paris Agreement, the Kyoto Protocol, and all other agreements, and it should reduce the unnecessary conditionality, because these are things that are widening the gap between the rich nations and we the poor nations. So this is a step in the right direction, but they need to double up without any doubt, so that our children can also enjoy, good and healthy life. So data is key. We all know, to making decisions, and we're glad that at least we're taking this step. Whatever information that we generate, collate and report on, we want to stand on the same information and ask the developed countries to do more than what they're doing. What they're doing is not even sufficient, because some nations, developed nations, are even withdrawing from some of the international protocols. This is not acceptable. If it was a smaller nation, you'd be punished.
As an institution, one of our cardinal responsibilities is research. So we're very happy that we've been able to liaise with the EPA and other agencies of government, and will now be partly a repository of data collected on greenhouse gas emissions, because we believe very strongly at the university, and this is something that has been left out for a long period of time, that the research we do can help to inform public policy. So we're happy that this link is being made and that the colleagues from other agencies of government are here and will realize the role the university can play in enhancing the work that you do. We stand ready and fully to cooperate with the EPA and all other government agencies in ensuring that we carry out the responsibilities enshrined in the MOU we just signed.
Liberian-born international awards-winning boxer Freddie Kuwait recently returned home with 2 global trophies, with a focus to give back to his native land, Liberia. Freddie recently brought pride to the motherland after conquering the African and European continents in highly competitive boxing competitions, events that earned him 2 major belts. The crowned African and European water belt boxing champion said his coming back to the country is intended to give local boxers the opportunity to a conducive environment of boxing.
So I started boxing, and after a few years I had a dream to become a boxer. I started boxing when I was 18 years old, and people said, no, you're too old, you cannot do it, you should start something else. But I had my vision and I know this is meant to be. Not me found boxing, boxing has found me. So I went to pursue my dream to go to the UK, the home of boxing in Europe, to become a professional boxer. Only after a few years, I turned over to professional. There was always doubt in me. So let me try and see. I won all my fights without having any good management or any good supporters. As the time I came back in 2015, I wanted to help, but I didn't know how to start. So when Jason contacted me saying they have ideas how to bring boxing to Liberia, I said yes. Count me in, I want to do it. So when we started the boxing program, it was something my heart was telling me to do. It's only by the grace of God I hold these 2 titles. It's the African title and the European title. And I proved many doubters wrong. Not just that, I'm also made history as the first Liberian boxer to win such titles. So I take the opportunity now, every time I go in the ring, to represent Liberia. So by the grace of God, we will have a world champion soon. I'll be training hard, and I hope I'll get all your support to put Liberia back on the map. Next month I'll be fighting for the biggest title again. So I really need your prayers and your support, because this will be life-changing.
And the advisor of boxing is love disclosed plans by Freddie to construct modern state-of-art gyms across Liberia. Jason Scazo explained the move by the 14th world-ranking boxer will provide an atmosphere for thousands of young Liberians to transform their minds for national growth.
The mindset has really been transformed in a way, because we have all these kids come together. It's an opportunity for us to speak to their heart during some of these sessions, and they find out this is Freddie Kuwait that we found on Facebook. This is the guy who we've been following. We heard something about him. The magical aspect of it is that we're not teaching them how to fight. We're teaching them how to love one another. We're teaching them how to understand the idea of working together with one another. You know, so it's bigger than just having 2 people going at a disciplined way of fighting. It's about respect for one another. And in many ways, boxing can transcend the mindset to a level where most time we don't know how to do it. Although it's been emblem of the sport, but it really was not to a standard in which we imagined it. And one of the struggles that we had was, is this going to work? What I look at is the population of young people who are in Liberia, they're just looking for an opportunity to get attracted to something new sometimes, something that's positive. You know, not going in this alone is important. Linking up with the LBA locally is also important. That's a conversation that's actively going on right now as well. And perhaps our final goal is to build an amazing state-of-the-art boxing gym in Liberia through Boxwire effort and Boxing's Law. We will hopefully be able to show you the concept of how that gym will look like when it's built. You know, right after this interview, we can show it on the computer. So we have a plan that we're not just thinking about one gym in one place. We're thinking that how can we work with local LBA, put the gym in every county, and now get counties to understand the importance of boxing. How can that change the culture of interest in the sport in Liberia and really on the continent?
With that development, we come to the end of News Today on KMTV. But before we go, a recap of the headlines. To help strengthen national capacity and report progress on the greenhouse emission, EPA and other government line ministries and agencies signed MOU. The outreach mission of the United Nations Department of Management, Strategy, Policy and Compliance to visit Liberia on a 5-day outreach mission on the recruitment process of the UN. After conquering Africa and Europe in high competitive competitions, Liberian-born international awards-winning boxer Freddie Kuwait returns home to give back to the society. We say many thanks to you for always viewing our news. My name is Selin Bokari. For more news and information, log on to www.kmtvliberia.com. Good night.